Hey everyone, so in this video, I'm going to give an overview of ZotGPT Creator. So ZotGPT Creator is the custom AI solution that we offer at UC Irvine as part of the ZotGPT ecosystem. And essentially what it does is it allows staff and faculty to create custom AI assistants for any given use case, and then make those assistants available either privately, share them with folks across UCI, or even make them publicly available. So I'm going to walk through how you actually build these custom assistants in Creator and how it works. So to get started, to access Creator, you're going to want to go to creator.zotgpt.uci.edu. When you go to that address, you will be brought to your My Assistants dashboard in ZotGPT Creator. Now, I do need to highlight this is only available for staff and faculty at this time. When you first come here, if you're brand new to Creator, then this screen will likely be blank because this is where it will display any assistants that you've already made in Creator. If you want to create a brand new assistant, you will click on the Create Assistant in the upper right corner. When you click that button, it's going to open this interface and walk you through the process to create your assistant. The first couple of questions are relatively straightforward. You give your creator a name, and you give your creator a short description, so indicating what is its purpose, what is it designed to do. Okay, so those first two pieces are relatively straightforward. Now, the next part is actually a little bit more involved. This is the system prompt. And the system prompt is essentially where you provide the instructions to the AI of what it is designed to do and how it is designed to do that. So the system prompt, it can be very, very simple. I could create a very simple system prompt such as this. Okay, so that would be an example of a pretty simple system prompt. It says, you are here to answer questions that the user provides based on your knowledge. Be friendly and helpful. Keep your answers concise. But a system prompt can also be very, very robust. The topic of creating system prompts is actually a very in-depth topic and one that we cover through other resources that we provide. But suffice it to say that when you create your assistant, you should certainly be putting some thought into what you want the system prompt to consist of. The good news is that you don't need to have it all set in stone right now. You can start with a relatively simple system prompt, and then you can always come back later and change what you have added right here. If we scroll down a little bit further, you'll see you have your contact information. This will be displayed to the users who interact with your assistant. You will, though, have the ability to change this. Once we create the assistant, you can edit this information to display something different if you wish. And then lastly, at the bottom, you have the access controls. So this is basically your way of indicating who is able to interact with your assistant. By default, it'll be set to invite only. So when you first create an assistant, if it's invite only you have access to interact with it. You could then invite people on a case-by-case basis to be able to interact with your assistant. Alternatively, you could set it so that anybody at UCI that has the link is able to interact with it. So this is a very useful option if you want to share an assistant with your entire department, or if you want to just make it available to anyone at UCI to go and interact with, then you can certainly do that. You'll also see the option to open it to the public. Now, you'll notice that it's grayed out. You can't actually click on it. The reason is that if you do want to make a public assistant, we ask that you first reach out to our team to let us know that you would like to do this. You can reach out to us at oit-ai uci.edu. We just like to keep track of how many public AI assistants we currently have active. That way we can make sure that we are handling the traffic responsibly. If you do open it to the public, then what this allows you to do is embed your assistant directly onto a web page, if you were so inclined, making it available for anyone who goes to that website, even if they're not affiliated with UCI, to be able to interact with it. So those are the options right there. I'll just keep this on invite only for now, and we'll click on next to proceed to the next step. On the next step, you get to pick which AI model do you want your assistant to use, and also what do you want the conversational style to be. Now, when it comes to the model, we do have recommended models that we will visually indicate here, and we do this just to kind of simplify the process, because you'll see that if you click this drop-down menu to show the other models, we have a very long list of models to pick from. And we realize that this is a bit of an overwhelming list of choices for most people, and hence the reason that we do stamp some models as recommended, because we find that they do serve the purpose for most general cases. So if you're just getting started, I would say go ahead and just use a recommended model. Though if you do have particular models that you know you like the way that they respond to user requests, then of course go ahead and use one of those. You also have the conversational style. By default, we recommend that you use a precise style. The reason for this is that most people who utilize these custom assistants want to use them to basically look at some custom knowledge that they upload into the assistant and then utilize that knowledge to answer user questions. And so when you want your assistant to be referencing uploaded material, you don't want it to get too creative. If it gets too creative, it might start fabricating things. And so precise kind of helps to mitigate this to a degree. But it also depends on your use case. I mean, there are certainly situations where maybe you do want the AI to be a little bit more creative. So depending upon what your use case is, you can choose a conversational style that seems to meet your needs. I'll click on the next button to move on to the last step here. And in the last step, this is where you actually provide the custom knowledge that the AI assistant will utilize when answering user questions and satisfying their requests. There's two methods to providing custom knowledge. You can see at the top, the first method is to provide websites. So if you have a web page that contains information that you would like the assistant to be referencing, then you can add the URL right here for the AI to reference. So for example, I will pull up the ZotGPT website here and just copy that URL, paste it in, and I'll click add. So now what's going to happen is that the AI assistant is going to go and scrape the content of that page, not only the main page, but it will also try to scrape the sub pages of that domain as well, and include that in its knowledge base when responding to users. There are some limitations on this. Currently, we only support .edu, .gov, and .org websites. So if you want to scrape a web page, it has to have one of those domain extensions. Also, if you were to put in a website that has a very, very large volume of subpages, the web scraping capability will be able to gather a certain amount of that content before it will reach its capacity. So just bear in mind that if you have a very, very massive website, it may not be able to capture everything on that website. Then down below, we have the other option for uploading content via uploading files from your computer. So relatively straightforward. If you have some files that you want to be indexed in the knowledge of your AI assistant, all you have to do is click on the Select Files button here. I'll go ahead and grab these 3 PDFs. I'll click on Open. Okay. When you do this, it's going to ask you a couple of questions. First, it'll ask you if you have any additional description to aid in the processing. Essentially, what this is if you want to give the AI a little bit of added context as to what the document is, or if you want to tell the AI to focus on particular aspects of that document, then this is your opportunity to do so. Any guidance that you give it here, it will take into consideration when it's indexing that knowledge. You will also have the option to choose what method the AI will use to understand the document, either text extraction or vision. Text extraction is a great option if the file is very text-based in nature, then that's a logical choice. Vision would be if the file has a lot of visual information. So photographs, pictures, infographics, graphs, charts, things of that nature, things that go beyond text to be more of a visual medium. Then you can use vision for the AI to get more of a visual understanding of that data. So you can choose between these what is most relevant for the content that you're uploading. So once you provide some description of the files and you choose the method of indexing that information, you can click on Upload to begin uploading those files. Okay, and once the system is done uploading those files, you can click on Create Chatbot, and now that will add your new chatbot into the list here in your dashboard. So here you can see my example assistant has now been added, and you can also see it says that ZotGPT is still processing the data for this assistant. So essentially right now, the system is going through the website that I provided. It's going through the PDFs that I uploaded, and it's utilizing all of that data in order to build a knowledge base that the assistant is going to utilize when answering user questions. While we're waiting for that to finish, I'll just show you a few additional things here. First of all, you can see I can get an invite link right here. So if I click on that, this is a link that I could share with other people if I want them to be given access to interact with the chatbot. This is useful if you want to utilize a private chatbot, then this invite link would be the means by which people could get access to it. Also, if I want to change any of the settings that I have chosen up to this point, I can click on the Manage button. That will bring me into the back end of this assistant. When you first go in here, you'll see, first of all, it'll bring you to the summary page where you get some high-level analytics, letting you know how much your assistant is being utilized. If I go down to the knowledge page, this is where I can see those files and websites that I have put into the knowledge. I can always go through and remove items if I want to, or upload additional items. If I scroll down a little bit further, you'll also notice that we have a knowledge priority section. What this is basically telling the AI how much of its brain space should it allocate to these different sources of information. By default, the system is going to prioritize the uploaded content and websites the most. You can see that that bar at the top is much, much longer than the others. So essentially, by default, the AI assistant is going to focus mainly on the PDFs or other files you've uploaded and any websites that you've added. And then you can see below that, there's also chatbot instructions. So this is your system prompt. How much is the AI going to focus in on the system prompt? Chat messages. So this is essentially the AI looking at the history in a given conversation, how much it's going to allocate its brain space to keeping track of that conversational history. And then the chat content or user uploads is essentially if the user, if the user of your AI assistant were to upload any files into that conversation, you can indicate how much of its brain space should it allocate towards keeping track of that data. So you can adjust these however you want. You can see there's a reprioritize button over here. I can click on that, and then I could adjust these sliders. So maybe I have a very, very comprehensive system prompt. Maybe I want to increase the amount of focus that's on that. Maybe I'm not so worried about the AI keeping track of the conversation history. Maybe the people who use this assistant will usually just have one, maybe two questions. So I could maybe lower that a little bit. So you can adjust this as you see fit. But by default, the options that are here will usually suit most people's needs just fine. You'll also see there's a users tab. This is where you can keep track of who currently has access to your chatbot. There is a settings tab. This is where you can change all sorts of things. You can change the name, description, the contact information. If you want to edit that, you can do so here. You can change the AI model, and this is also where you can change the system prompt. I would say it's pretty common as people create custom AI assistants that they will regularly come back and revise their system prompt. It's a very iterative component of your AI assistant. And so right here is where you could edit that information. Also, you'll see a mention for embed code. This option will show you embed code in the event that you've made your assistant public. If it's not public, then there won't be any information here for you. And remember, if you do want to make a public assistant, you do have to reach out to our team first to request that be turned on for you. The last item I'll mention in the back end here is the chat history. So the chat history is where you can see all of the conversations that have taken place between users and your AI assistant. So it's important to know that when you share out a custom AI assistant with Creator, the interactions that users have with that assistant are being logged. And that's very much on purpose so that the owners of these assistants can see what kinds of conversations are taking place. How well is the AI satisfying the requests of the users? So it provides a bit of quality assurance to be able to go through and see what those conversations are. So this is a key difference between Creator and ZotGPT Chat. With Chat, your conversations are always kept private to you. No one's monitoring your interactions. With Creator, it's a little different. The author or the administrator of the assistant is able to monitor the interactions that take place. You can also filter what's displayed here by name, by date, and you can actually download the interaction logs, which can be quite useful if you have a large volume of logs that you want to analyze. You could download all of them and then use a tool like ZotGPT Chat to help you analyze what kind of interactions have taken place. In the upper left corner where you see it says the name of the assistant, this is actually a drop-down menu where you can switch to a different assistant that's in your dashboard. So if you have more than one assistant, this is an easy way just to flip through different assistants that you have. I'll go over to my knowledge tab here and see if it has finished its work. I can see it's finished processing it's still working on some of the PDFs. And it's still working on the website. So this process can take a little bit of time depending upon the volume and the size of the content that you've uploaded. You know, it could take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour or two. It really just depends on how much data you've put into it. But you're always welcome to navigate away from this and come back to it later. It will continue working. You don't need to feel like you have to keep this open for it to do its work. But I'm going to go ahead and jump forward in time a little bit to when this is done processing, and we will take a look at what it's like to interact with one of these custom AI assistants. All right, so now let's take a look at what it's like to actually interact with one of these assistants. I'm actually going to jump over to one of one of my other assistants just to demonstrate this. I have right here the ZotGPT assistant. This is actually the assistant that we have embedded on the ZotGPT website. If I go over to the website right now, you can see down here in the bottom right corner is this little Ask ZotGPT button. If I click on that, you can see it opens this little chat interface where I can talk to it. So this is what it looks like if you do embed your assistant onto a web page. Again, bear in mind that that does need to be a public assistant in order for you to have this functionality. But I can also interact with it here in this interface as well. I'll also mention that you can get a shareable link that if you have it set, so anyone at UCI with the link can talk to it, or if you have it set as a public chatbot, then you could also just share this link out with somebody, and then they're able to interact with it that way as well. I'll click on Start New Chat. And you can see that once you do this, it brings you to the interface that's very similar to the other ZotGPT solutions. We have our basic chat interface, and now I can ask it a question. All right, so I sent it that question. And in this case, I know that this particular assistant has been trained on not only the content of the ZotGPT website, but it also has been trained on a number of different pieces of documentation about the ZotGPT ecosystem. And so it's able to very easily respond to that question. So this just goes to show you the value in this kind of a solution. By being able to provide it that custom knowledge, suddenly you're able to take an AI tool that typically is more general purpose and now narrow its focus to the work that you do and the knowledge that's relevant to the work that you do. So this is one of the very big benefits of working with a tool like Creator. Last few things I'll mention before I finish up here. On the left-hand side in the upper left, you can click on this little panel button to open a side panel to see your conversation history with this particular assistant. In the upper right, you have the export button if you want to export this conversation, either copy it or download a text file. And lastly, there's a start over button in the upper right. If you click on this, then that will start a brand new chat session with this particular assistant. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have questions about ZotGPT Creator, do feel free to reach out to us at oit-ai@uci.edu. Thanks for watching.